Can you imagine what would happen when a vicious assassin takes up the job of a school cleaner? The story begins when a group of mafia gangs capture a man and one of the gang members shoots the man in the leg. They threatened him so he could reveal the secret of his gang or he would be killed. Suddenly, they begin to hear noise from a corner in the warehouse. One of the men goes there to check and he sees a young boy. The leader of the gang threatens to kill the boy after asking why he is there, but the boy does not reply. The wounded man begins to wonder why the boy's shoes were not laced. The head of the gang becomes furious and tells the boy that he will kill him and abandon his body in the warehouse. Immediately, the boy takes out a gun from the man's suit and shoots the leader of the gang. He attacks the other men and he shoots them one after the other. Meanwhile, the wounded man begins to wonder how a small boy could handle the entire gang of the mafia. The man becomes surprised as the boy successfully kills and defeats the members of the gang with his fast reflexes. The boy helps the man to stand up and tells him that he is his friend as he was sent by the man's boss. 12 years later, a cleaning van parks in front of a school, and in the van are two men who begin to discuss how bad the school has become. The older man tells the young man that his next task is to wipe out the bad students in the school. The older man takes a sheet of paper and squeezes it and throws it in the young man's direction, and immediately the young man catches it and tells the older man that he has started clearing the garbage. The young man gets down from the van and he walks into the school, and he is admired by the female students for being so handsome. 3 students come to meet him and ask him who he is and what he is doing in their school, but he tells them that his name is Banjo, the new school cleaner. After introducing himself, the students drop cigarettes on the floor and Banjo immediately picks them up and tells them not to dirty the floor. He tells them that what they are doing is wrong. One of the students tries to attack him for interfering in their matter by running to punch him, but Banjo decides not to create any violence because he would kill the boy if he did it. Banjo dodges the attack, and as the student tries harder to punch him, he dodges all the attacks. Soon, the student becomes tired, and as Banjo tries to walk away, the students pull him by his shirt and threaten him to be careful in their school, and they promise to teach him the rules as a newcomer. Meanwhile, all the female students begin to talk about the new cleaner. A female teacher, Hoshino Amy, walks by and hears the students talking about how cute the new cleaner is, but she immediately sends them to their classes. Soon, Amy hears that Kishima-kun is fighting with the new cleaner. She says to herself that the teachers and students are scared of the delinquents in the school as they have become the rulers of the school. The other teachers would not say anything about the students' behavior, but she tells herself that she has to be brave. On getting there, she sees that Banjo the janitor has beaten the 3 students up. Banjo tells Chan that he tried as much as possible not to be violent, but immediately, teacher Hoshino Amy tells Banjo that he is fired. Teacher Hoshino Amy tells Banjo that she is joking. She then takes him to his office and shows him how things work. Banjo begins to think of how he is going to make the teacher his insider to give him information. He looks at her physical attributes and uses them to score the fact that she would be a good inside informant. Teacher Amy asks Banjo what happened between him and the students, and he tells her that he took up the trash they dropped on the floor. She then tells him to be careful of the students as they are very dangerous. In his class, some students begin to make fun of Kishima losing to the cleaner. Akikawa urges him to go and fight the cleaner again so as to make the students stop making fun of him, but Kishima tells him that the cleaner is too dangerous. The girls in the class also interfere and ask Anna, who is much older in the class. They conclude that the cleaner is handsome. Suddenly, Gouda, a Year 3 Class D student, comes in and tells Kishima to go and fight the cleaner. Teacher Amy walks through the halls on her way to teach a class, and suddenly some students call her name, and she becomes very scared. After reading the cleaner manual, Banjo becomes confused as he does not understand it. He steps out of his office and sees a phone on the floor at the entrance. He checks the phone and sees a video of teacher Amy tied up in a dark room. Banjo picks up the phone and asks the teacher on the phone where she is, but before she can answer it, Masuka, his right-hand man, tells him to come and find the teacher. Masuka tries to rape the teacher, but the other students caution him and tell him not to harm the hostage. Masuda threatens the students and tells them that they cannot order him around. Soon, Banjo gets there and tells the teacher that he got her phone, and he thought it was trash until he saw the picture behind the phone. He then tells teacher Amy that he has returned the phone and has completed his duty. As he turns to leave, the students become very furious as they think Banjo is fooling them, and immediately the students try to beat him, and immediately he punches some of them. Kishima then punches him and he falls. Banjo stands up and beats up Kashima. Banjo beats up Masuda, who wants to harm the teacher. He punched him in his nose. Banjo then asks the children if they think all that they are doing is not a crime, but they tell him that it is self-defense. Seeing this, the other children run for their lives, and immediately Banjo takes teacher Amy and escapes from the scene. Later, a teacher comes to the scene, but Masuda cannot say what had happened, as he is too ashamed to say that he was defeated. Masuda goes to report to Gouda and he says that the cleaner is only having luck. Teacher Amy asks Banjo for a date, and he tells his friend who is coming to check up on his work. His friend looks at him and asks him if he is going on a date with the way he is dressed. Banjo tells his friend that he is dressed up in the civilized way, but his friend tells him that teacher Amy is a matured person, and he has to dress up to meet her standard. Banjo does not listen to his friend and walks out on him. Amy meets with Banjo in a bar, and he apologizes for coming late. She then tells him not to worry about it. Amy asks Banjo if he takes alcohol and how good he is with his alcohol, and he tells her he is pretty good at it. Soon they go to a restaurant to eat grilled meat and beer. Amy tells Banjo how she loves grilled meat, but he tells her that he will grill the meat. He cuts the meat and slices it to grill. She then asks him if he is a professional, and he tells her that he learned it in his last job. Banjo decides to ask Amy about the state of the school, but she keeps avoiding the question in order to ask him more about himself. She also asks him if he has a girlfriend, and he tells her that he does not have one. She thanks him for rescuing and saving her life, and she also asks how he was able to defeat the students without being violent. Banjo replies to her and tells her that he got skilled like that from his previous work. Amy moves closer to Banjo and asks him if he can instruct her on how to fight like that. Banjo tells Amy that he is going to teach her, but on the condition that she provides him with some internal information about the school. Amy thinks that it should not be a problem, and she tells him that she will give him any information he needs. Banjo becomes happy that he is making progress with having an insider for his task, but Amy interrupts his thinking and asks him if they can exchange their numbers. He gives her his number, and she becomes excited that she has his number. He tells her that he has given her his second number, and she begins to wonder how strange he is and how she would love to have his family number. They leave the restaurant and stand outside, and immediately Banjo grabs Amy closer to himself. She becomes startled, and after a few seconds, she regains herself and pushes him away and tells him to leave her alone. He tells her that she will learn faster as she is strong and fit. They begin to walk down the road, and suddenly Amy sees one of her students, Suma, with an old man. She tells Banjo that they should follow them, and he agrees. As they follow the man and her student, Banjo gives Amy tips on how to tail someone. She begins to wonder if he was a detective in his previous work. Amy tells Banjo that she wonders what the student was doing with that old man, and she thinks the student might be into sugar daddy gating. Banjo asks what she means by that, as he does not know what it is. She then makes fun of him for being ignorant. They follow the student to a corner and see that the man is trying to handle her roughly. Amy yells at the man to stop, and as the student turns and sees her teacher, she runs away. Suddenly, some other students from the school come out on the corner and tell Amy that they are professionals. Amy becomes shocked as one of the students begins to beat up the man for messing with a minor. Banjo tells Amy not to challenge the students as she does not have any evidence against the students. At school the following day, the students begin to discuss how teacher Amy and the cleaner were seen near a hotel the previous night. Immediately, a student named Erica goes to meet Suma and yells at her for getting caught by the teacher. She also tells her not to tell the teacher anything if she is called after school. Banjo takes his equipment and begins to think of how he wants to clean the halls. He decides that he will clean while the students are in class, because if he decides to clean them while they are on lunch break, it would be a disaster. Meanwhile, in the girls' bathroom, Erica and some other female students are there with Suma. Erica continues to insult Suma and blames her for not doing her part of the job to collect money from rich men, while she blackmails the rich men for going out with a minor. Suma tries to explain to her, but she continues to yell at her for being so stupid to be seen by teacher Amy. Banjo records a video of Erica stating their jobs and shows it to the girls. Erica begins to insult Banjo, and she calls him a pervert for barging into the girls' bathroom. The girls begin to run out, seeing that Banjo is not getting intimidated by them, and after they all go, Banjo gives Suma his jacket as the girls pour her water before they leave. Banjo notices that Anna, a student, has Yakuza backing her up. Banjo continues to scrub the floor until Suma breaks the silence and thanks him for letting her wear his jacket. He offers her to bring her new clothes, but she tells him that she does not have any. Suma then asks him why he is not scolding her for what she did, but he tells her that he cannot judge her. She explains what happened that night and how she used to plan dates for Anna and Erica, but they had set her up that night. She also adds how she is doing the work to raise money for her education. Banjo asks her to tell him more about adult dating and sugar daddy dating, and she begins to make fun of him as he is ignorant of it. After listening to her, Banjo advises her and tells her to look for a new job in order to go along the right path and use the right way to achieve her dreams. Banjo explains all that he heard from Suma to teacher Amy, and she thanks him for interfering in the matter. He also asks her if Kusamoto will come to see her after school, but teacher Amy tells him that she has been avoiding her. She tells him that she will summon her again, but he advises her that she will continue to avoid her unless they get to the root of the matter. Banjo likens the matter to killing a bug. He tells Amy that if they do not kill the bug itself, it will continue to grow its limbs. He then asks how they are doing the matching procedure, and she tells him that they use an underground website. Banjo sets his accomplice, Yamadera, to use the matching site. He uses it to meet a high school girl. Yamadera makes sure he takes a picture when the girl asks in the hotel room. He gives the girl money and leaves the room. After taking his shower, he leaves. On getting outside, he meets some boys who show him the pictures and threaten to take him to the police unless he gives them money. Banjo follows them and tails them to a music shop. The worker at the karaoke asks him who he is, and he tells him that he is a cleaner, but the worker tells him that he did not call the particular company. After thinking of what to do, he knocks down the worker and wears his uniform and tries to look for where the boys have taken Yamadera to. Meanwhile, in the room, Yamadera tells the boy that he has no money. Suma comes in and tells them that she wants to quit, but Erica slaps her and tells her that she is an accomplice, so she cannot go anywhere. A man meets Banjo and asks him if he is from the Ryuku group, and Banjo becomes surprised. The man then tells him that he is there to take him down, and immediately, he brings out a knife and tries to attack Banjo. Meanwhile, Yamadera beats up a boy in the room and saves Suma from them. He tosses a coin to a boy and tells them to let him go, but the boy refuses. The man begins to use his knife against Banjo, and at first he sees that he is making his attacks look easy. He decides to step up his game and use some knife techniques that he is sure that he cannot dodge, but all his efforts are futile. Banjo asks him if he is done so that he can also try to beat him up, but the man says he was only taking it easy on him. Yamadera and the leader of the students begin to fight. They use bottles against each other at first, but they both ruin each other's shirts and they begin to fight without their shirts. The leader uses a stick and starts beating Yamadera, and even makes a jest of him as he is beating a once member of the Yakuza. After seeing that all his attacks were dodged by Banjo, and he has also been beaten too, the man tries to fight in a military style, and soon he is nowhere to be found. Banjo begins to look for him, but he does not see him. Yamadera falls to the floor as he is being beaten by the leader of the students. Suddenly, he uses the stick the boy has been using to lift the boy up, and all the students present become surprised. Yamadera kicks the leader out of the room, and he sees Banjo and the man. He asks Banjo if he is also fighting like him, and he also notices that Banjo's clothes have changed, and he asks him why. Banjo replies that he only borrowed the clothes. The man in glasses tells Banjo that he wants to speak to the leader of the student's business, but Yamadera ignores him and begins to beat up the boy. He threatens the boy to start selling all he knows about the business, but the boy tells him that he will not say anything. Yamadera tells the boy that he will have to cut his fingers or toes, and immediately, the boy starts to give them information about the business and how some people at the top are making them do it. The man then tells Banjo and Yamadera that he is their friend, not an enemy, and he gives them a sticker for them to go. The man then ties all the students and asks them who the leader is, but Erica tells him that the leader is Anna. The man beats up Erica and calls her ugly. He tells her that he knows Anna is the leader, but he is beating her because he wants to use Anna as their merchandise. He also informs the children that the business they are running belongs to the Cats and Chips Company. Banjo, Yamadera, and Sumo walk through the passage and see a gang of men standing on guard, and they realize that the sticker given to them was for them to pass. Suma goes back to school after all of this happened, but the school has heard that Anna and Erica have gone missing. Suma makes new friends and they all gossip about a new boy band called Spade. Suma shows the girls the tattoo on Yamadera's back, and they all realize that she is attracted to older men. Akikawa looks at a girl among them and wishes he could talk to her. One of the boys tells him that he can simply ask her to go out with him after school. He sees it as good advice and decides to take it. He goes to meet Shuko during lunch and asks her if she wants to hang out after school. She tells him no, stating that she has practiced. She also scolds him for being friends with delinquents, but he tells her not to order him around. After school, Akigawa goes to the field and he watches from afar how Shuko is practicing. Soon, he hears Banjo and teacher Emi's voices and decides to check what is happening. He peeps and asks them, but Banjo explains to him that they are training. He also asks him if he wants to join them, but he refuses. Akigawa reminds Banjo of how they had once fought and he tells him to stop being nice to him. Akigawa leaves and he receives a call from Gouda about a party and he tells him to bring Shuko for him as all the girls he has are worn out. Akigawa begins to remember how he quit football and started to hang out with Gouda. He remembers how Gouda introduced them to drinking and drugs. He calls Tanabe and tells him about the party. Tanabe then tells him that he is going to get girls to follow them to the party. Suma knocks on Banjo's office and asks if Yamadera is around, but he tells her that he does not come to visit him often. Suma then tells Banjo that Shuko needs advice, and he tells her to come in. Shujo explains to Banjo about the way Akigawa is her childhood friend and how he has been hanging out with delinquents. She also explains that she is suspicious that they are up to something as Tanabe is texting some girls and asking them to come to the party. Banjo asks her what she wants to do, and she tells him that she wants Akigawa to cut ties and stop hanging out with the bad boys. Shuko tells Banjo about Gouda and how he has influenced Akigawa and some boys in her class. Immediately, Banjo changes and dresses up like a female. He tells them that he is going to the party. Shuko tells him that she wants to go with him as well. They get to the party and a boy drags Banjo to come and dance with him. As the boy touches Banjo's chest, he realizes that he is a man dressed up as a female. Immediately, Banjo switches with another boy, and soon they begin to beat up the boy for cross-dressing to come to the party. Gouda comes in and settles the quarrel by telling them everyone has different preferences, and soon everyone goes partying and drinking. Shuko goes to sit with some boys and they give her a drink, which she refuses at first, but as a way to cover up, she takes the drink, and soon she begins to feel faint and she passes out. Shuko wakes up and sees herself in a cage with chains on her hands and around her neck. She begins to call on Banjo, but he is nowhere to be found. Soon, someone comes to take her, and she sees other girls as they line up in front of Gouda. As the girls stand in front of Gouda, he begins to look at them and he tells them to begin to fight themselves until there is someone left. He tells them that he likes a strong woman and orders them to begin the fight. Gouda orders his men and suddenly they drop a big cage made of iron. Back in the party, Tanabe tells Akigawa that the party is becoming filled with fewer people. Suddenly, Akigawa sees an id card on the floor and checks it. He sees that it belongs to Shuko. The girls are introduced, and they consist of different strong ladies, including Shuko. The girls begin to talk to each other at first, but they are teased by the boys outside the cage, who tells them that they either fight or get killed. One of the girls, who is a wrestler, begins to fight with the martial artist, and soon she defeats the martial artist, and as she is about to kill her, Shuko rescues the martial artist. The wrestler becomes angry as the other girls fight each other, and they remain 3. One of the girls says she is not interested in Gouda, and soon she fights the wrestler and defeats her. Shuko asks her what they are going to do, since they are on the same side, but she tells Shuko that she has to fight her, so that she can escape. Shuko becomes scared as she does not know what to do. She begins to wish that Banjo is there to rescue her. Akigawa and Tanabe try to enter to see Gouda, but they are stopped by his right-hand man, who tells them that he is enjoying himself. Akigawa tells him that they have taken Shuko by mistake, but he does not listen. Instead, he yells at them for trying to disobey him. Kashima apologizes to him and immediately threatens him that he is going to beat his seniors up. The girl insists on fighting with Shuko, but Shuko begs her that they should discuss how to get out, but she does not listen. She attacks Shuko, but she swiftly dodges it, and the girl begins to wonder if she did not calculated her attack very well. She tries more to attack Shuko, but she cannot as she dodges all of her attacks. Shuko becomes happy as she puts everything Banjo has told her before they entered into use. She says to herself that he is right. Suddenly, the girl attacks her again, and she keeps dodging until the girl pins her to a corner. The girl tells her that there is nothing she can do again, but Shuko remembers what Banjo told her to do when caught in a corner. She attacks the girl, and she begins to blame herself for underestimating Shuko. Gouda urges them to continue as he is enjoying himself. Suddenly, Kishima barges in with Tanabe and Akigawa. He tells Gouda that they have noticed his bad behavior and they have come to wipe him out. Akigawa goes to the cage and calls on Shuko. He tells her that he will come and save her very soon. Tanabe tells them that he is scared of Gouda as he could kill him. But Kishima asks him whose side he is on, but he cannot reply. Gouda looks at them and laughs at them as he asks them why they have interrupted him. Gouda gets down and faces the three friends. He begins to beat them one after the other. Akigawa faces him, and he punches him and throws him against the cage. Immediately, Shuko asks him if he is okay, but he tells her that he is okay, and he has not come to rescue her, but gives her her student card that she had misplaced. She collects the card and thanks him. Meanwhile, Banjo begins to survey the farm and he sees all the illegal plants that they have there. He takes a picture and evidence and tells himself that he has to go and save Shuko until he is stopped by a boy who tells him to turn around and asks him what he is doing there. He beats up the boy and he sees a man who is the bodyguard of the Ryuku group. Gouda tells the boys as he is beating them that no one has been able to defeat him, and not even wrestlers. He adds that he does not have a weak point as all his body is strong, and he does not use any kind of techniques because he does not need them. Akigawa is surprised, as all his punches are not effective on Gouda's body. Kishima picks up an iron rod and tells Gouda that he has a skill that even his friends do not know of, and he calls it the principle of kendo. Kishima was once a good kendo fighter as he was taught the skills by his father, but after some incident that happened in their dojo, he left and joined the delinquents in school. Kishima uses the skills of kendo and he hits Gouda, who thinks he could just grab Kishima and disarm him. Gouda becomes surprised, as he does not believe that he could be hit. Akugawa cheats on Kishima, as he remembers the skills in kendo his father taught him. Kishima remembers how his father had told him to attack an opponent, and he uses these skills on Gouda and hits him twice without him noticing. Meanwhile, Banjo is attacked by Miguel the bodyguard, who points a gun at him. Banjo calculates the range and dodges the bullet. Miguel looks at him and tells him he must be a professional female assassin for him to be able to dodge like that. Banjo dodges a few bullets more and soon Miguel comes closer and tells him that he cannot dodge a close-range bullet. But immediately Banjo uses a skill to disarm him. Miguel becomes shocked at this, and he immediately tells Banjo that his face looks familiar, and he asks him if he was the one that infiltrated their organization. He takes the gun and points it to Miguel, but Banjo tells him that his job description does not have anything to do with killing. Banjo looks at the two of them, and he knocks Miguel and the other boy present out to make them unconscious, as he tells himself that he has been delayed, and begins to run towards where Shuko was taken to. Kishima knocks out Gouda, and everyone becomes happy and Akigawa goes to meet him happily. Akigawa immediately looks for the key to the cage so as to get Shuko out of the cage, and as they are about to open the cage, they notice that Gouda has risen up. Shuko yells at them to watch out and Hada smashes Akigawa's head on the iron pole, causing him to bleed out. Kishima holds the iron rod again, ready to attack. They see the way he stays on the floor like a gorilla, and the look in his eyes like a wild animal. Gouda immediately notices his attack and begins to suspect that he has already chickened out. Gouda asks them about their superior attitude and why he has got a weird look on his face like he is not even human. Gouda attacks Kishima and breaks the iron rod into two with his bare hands, and this makes everyone shocked. Kishima sees the length of the rod and sees that he cannot attack him at close range. Gouda throws the pole at him, but Kishima dodges it and tries to attack Gouda, but it is to no avail. Gouda beats up Kishima and Akigawa. He then takes Kishima by the neck and begins to squeeze his fingers. Gouda remembers how hard his father beat him, and he also remembers how he spent the rest of his high school in juvenile prison. He tells himself that he has let himself go and suddenly Banjo comes in. Gouda tells him that he is the hot girl everyone has been talking about at the party. Banjo then faces him to fight him and Gouda drops Kishima and prepares to deal with Banjo. Banjo notices that his skills are those of a beast and he decides to dodge all of his attacks. Gouda becomes more surprised and admits how strong Banjo is and begins to wonder if there is anyone who could beat her. Banjo tells himself that he has never fought someone like him in his full years of being a professional, as he has no business with fighting beasts after seeing the kind of movement carried out by Gouda. Gouda charges home again and tells him that it is dangerous to be caught by an opponent with powerful arms. Banjo tells himself that he must avoid attacks, as he has always been doing since he became a hired killer. Gouda notices that his movements are generally unpredictable, and continues to try and get to him. After fighting for a while, Gouda captures Banjo, and he begins to strangle him as he tells him that it only takes 10 seconds for him to die, and he begins to count down while strangling him. He pretends to die, and suddenly, Banjo attacks him and releases him. Gouda becomes surprised at how he was able to resist the way he strangled his neck. He becomes surprised and thinks he should be oxygen deprived and wonders how he is still able to move. He began to see how he was able to do it, because she saw that he was heading for her neck, so she took a deep breath. Banjo also remembers the way his master had sent him underwater, without any equipment to make him breathe. He also remembers how he was taught to use a knife to kill a snake. Banjo begins to use all the techniques he knows to defeat Gouda, but he is too strong to fall down. Banjo then remembers how his master had taught him to defeat animals smaller than he is and ones bigger than him, as Gouda appears to be more than him in size. He uses the technique he once used to fight a bear on Gouda, and he begins to strangle him. While strangling him, he notices that Gouda still has enough leeway to talk even after a lot of pressure he is applying on his neck. Gouda releases himself after much trial and tells Banjo how his opponents always think his leg is his weak point. He also adds that Akiko's punches were strong, as well as Kishima's skills, but they were not enough to defeat him. Banjo tells him that he is a unique opponent and he will not use any complex techniques to defeat him. He tells him that he would only use standard tactics on him in order to make him defeated. One of his men tells him to take Shuko and get out of there, but he refuses. Instead, he tries going after Gouda, but all to no use. Gouda laughs at them and informs them all to aim for his legs, since it's the only thing they know how to do. He teases them and tells them that they cannot make him budge, as all their attacks are useless. Banjo attacks his legs and brings him down. Banjo then tells him that he thought of him as a worthy opponent and pointlessly used roundabout methods, but standard tactics worked just fine for him. Banjo informs his men that standard tactics work just fine and his enemy begins to wonder how an attack penetrated his steel body. Akikoga and his men are also surprised that no matter how hard they tried, nothing worked for him. Gouda-san begins to yell at Banjo, and he is certain that his leg getting broken was not by coincidence. Banjo tells his men that in order to break a steel wall, they have to hit it repeatedly until it breaks. He explains to them that he was able to break it in one hit, because the damage from their attacks had already weakened it. Gouda-san immediately informs his men not to worry about him and get the guys who had damaged his leg. They begin to charge towards Banjo and Akikoga, when suddenly, a strange individual drives in with a machine and takes down one of the men. They all become surprised and seize the opportunity to escape from Gouda-san and his men. They successfully escape them and begin to catch their breaths. Suddenly, the brakes of the motorcycle were heard, and they thanked him for his assistance and asked him who he was. He takes off his helmet and introduces himself to them. They all notice he is in Year 2 and in Class 3, which makes them very surprised. He also informs them that he has come to save his little sister. Kisaragi Misa introduces herself and heads home with her brother. While heading home, he asked his sister if she ate anything on enemy ground and insisted she throw it away. Meanwhile, Gouda-san is at the crime scene and can barely move at all. He sees that no one is coming to help him, and he also becomes surprised that he will eventually fall in love and begins to regret it. During lunch break, Kishima comes into the class and Akikoga asks him if he had decided to skip morning class. In response, he tells him no, but some hooligans attack him. Akikoga becomes surprised and he narrates to him how he dealt with the leftovers of the Ryukuo group. Akikoga becomes worried because they have all gone back to the way they were before, just the three of them. Akikoga immediately thanks them and Kishima asks Tanabe who the girl he brought was. This is because she is so cool and pretty. They begin to tease one another and begin to plan their day, but Akikoga insists he has plans. Akikoga tells them that he is going on a date, and Tanabe becomes angry because he had a girlfriend before him. After school, they begin to walk home together. Akikoga asks about her leg, and she informs him that he is fine. She insists on spending more time with him as they begin to play games and get ice cream together. They then head to the mart. Shuko convinces him to get a ball, since it is very cheap, and Akikoga gets one and begins to practice with it in the park. Shuko asks him why he quit soccer. Aktigoa stops and tells her how the soccer advisor treated him and the other team members and made them all be in bad shape. They too begin to have a little disagreement about it, and he suddenly tries to tell her something, but he is suddenly hit by a ball. The head teacher planned to expel the students at the next staff meeting, but one of the teachers pleaded to hear from the side of the students. This is so that they would not be expelled. The teacher begins to wonder whether they were all on good terms with Gouda-kun, so it would be strange if they were on the site where he lost his life. The teacher decided to invite Hiro-san, since she had been confirmed to be on the scene. She invites her over and questions her. She also suspects that Banjo-san would be involved and moves to question him. She questions him on why he took Hiro-san to that terrible place. He replied to her saying that she wanted to come along and he did not want to stop her, but he taught her how to defend herself. The teacher becomes more angry and informs him that a student lost his life in that incident and also asks if he has a human heart. She immediately apologizes to him and walks out. He receives a call and goes to meet his friend in the spa. He asks his friend about the human heart, as he has not been taught. The master talks to him about everything and tells him that he is not wrong for carrying the girl, and he has always trained him to be gifted. He tells his master to give up, but his master instructed him to yield first. The following day, the teacher goes to the head teacher and tells him that she is responsible for everything that happened in the incident. She also claims she was the lady that was present during the incident to cover up for them. The teacher remembers how she was bullied and the lesson she got back then about how a good teacher will always protect his/her pupils. They both arrive at the coffee shop and the head teacher orders 2 coffees and begs her not to make a hasty decision as he would want to know her motives. She tries to lie more, but the head teacher goes on to reveal his own details regarding the incident, which made her very surprised that he is aware of everything that happened. Take-it-kun immediately put out a call for a search for the teacher, and he requested that they send out 100 people. The men agree to help out since he has always helped them out also. The men began to look all over for her but could not find her. Suddenly, one of them gets a call and they are informed that she has been found and she is in a hotel. Taga immediately insists they hurry to go get her. Meanwhile, at the hotel, the head teacher begins to try and get intimate with her, and she keeps asking him if her students will be okay. Suddenly, Taga and the 100 men barge into the room in the name of Yamada Cleaning, which makes them very surprised. She sees Banjo-san and immediately begins to wonder what is going on. The head teacher threatens to call the police, but Banjo-san goes to meet her and immediately begins to apologize and asks her if she is still cool with him. In response, she states that she is, which makes him very happy and immediately plans to leave. She becomes surprised that he is leaving her with the head teacher, and the head teacher becomes aware that they did not come to save her. Suddenly, he receives a call that the head teacher had sold information about them, and they did not know that is where Yuki-chan was working part-time, and apparently they did not recognize her. If you like this recap, do let me know in the comments, and obviously leave your like too. Do not forget to share with your friends and subscribe. Above all, activate your notification bell so you don't miss the next episode when it drops. Until next time, do take care and stay safe.